And it looks like we might be live. My name is Crypto Hulk, everybody. Welcome back to the show. If you're brand new here, today we have a guest, Caleb and Brown. It's a brokerage, and they're having one of the representatives here. He's been on the show quite a bit. We try to have a couple times a month to have the brokerage firm show up where it's our preferred choice of where we get our crypto. And then we have Jim here, and Jim works for them. And how long you been there for, Jim?
Just coming up on about 2 years, so not too long compared to some of our other staff, but yeah, 2 years is a long time in crypto. So yeah, been CB for a while now.
2 years. Now I'm waiting to see the chat box. Let me go outside of my channel real quick. I'm gonna log into my YouTube like as a guest so I can see the chat box in there. 2 years. Now I'm waiting to see the okay, we got Chris Sharpie and Chris Stopaplik. Okay, it'll take a little bit of time for some people to show up. What I did is I advertised the show earlier today. I made a short little like 1 minute video, and then I had this video sitting on YouTube for. I had the video sitting on there for like 5 hours, so I just deleted the other one, so people will end up filling up as we're seeing right here. They're moving over. So today we've got Caleb Brown here, and we're going to go over a couple things. We do have set up, which I'm not going to get into at length. We're trying to work on having a crypto company on our show, and we're arranging different things to see if we could have a meeting of the minds. We're not sure yet, but it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I have a feeling this crypto will be a massive crypto in the future. When we have crypto regulations and everything is running how it's supposed to be, which is on digital crypto, then this company, we're going to try to get them onto the show so they can talk about their company. And I'm probably going to load up. I'm just being honest. So I'll have to hear what the gentleman has to say, learn more about this particular crypto, and it's pretty exciting. I actually like this crypto. We've talked about it quite a bit on this program. If you're a $200 member or a $500 member, I told you buy 1 million of these things if you can in the very beginning. So we're going to have this person on the program, hopefully. We'll see what happens in the next 2-3 weeks or something. We're trying to arrange some stuff. And if it works, then great. We're going to have somebody on this program. So Jim, go ahead and say hello and say what's ever on your mind to introduce yourself, and I'll get ready over on my end.
Yeah, hey everyone. Good afternoon. I know that there's some people in the chat in Australia, so good morning to those people. As Hulk said, we're teasing it for now. I think we'll definitely get something organized, and it's a growing project that has a lot of eyeballs in the ecosystem right now. It's got a very interesting use case, and it'd be a great opportunity for us to interview him and get a lot of questions answered and give a really great insight for this community in terms of a project that's growing quite a lot and has performed really well over the last 6 months. So that's a little teaser. We're just organizing the final details now, and hopefully we'll have something to show in the next month or so. But yeah, for those that haven't seen or heard me before, I'm sure some of you are probably sick of seeing me every couple of weeks, but my name's Jim Bazzani. I work at Caleb and Brown. We're a global cryptocurrency brokerage. So we help people buy, sell, and swap crypto, but they get to do so through their own dedicated broker. And so it's a far more personalized white glove service. We're genuinely here to help you in any way possible achieve your goals and objectives when it comes to the crypto space, but just ensure that you're as informed about your portfolio in these markets as you possibly can be, because it is quite a volatile, it's quite a risky asset class. And so we're here to help assist where we can. I'm usually doing these in the office, in our Melbourne office at Caleb and Brown. I've had a very hectic morning and thought I'd just be a bit more authentic and do this one from home today. So you're getting the proper Jim Bazzani. But yeah, excited to chat today. And please feel free to ask any questions throughout this hour that we have. We'll talk about some interesting stuff going on in the crypto space, talk about why our clients love C&B. But if you've got any questions about what we're doing at Caleb and Brown or just the general overview of the markets, feel free to shoot some questions in the chat.
So if you're listening to this video and you already have a $200 membership, I put in the top chat here on Instagram and Twitter or X how you can get a hold of me. You need to show proof that you've paid. So take a picture of your account, say, "Hi, Crypto Hulk. My name is Coolid85 from YouTube." That way I know who you are. Because some of you guys are using an Instagram name and it doesn't show up on my YouTube because you didn't tell me who the fuck you are. So try to make it very simple. "Hi, Crypto Hulk. My name is Joe Blow from YouTube. My phone number is blank. Here is my account, Crypto Hulk, that I took a picture of showing that I paid." It's that simple. And then you send that to me. And sometimes it takes 2 to 3 days for it to show up on my end. See, there's a thing some of you guys aren't aware of. There's something called payment and settlement. Okay, I'm going to break it down really easy so you get it. Payment is when you go into a restaurant, you use a credit card, you slide it through, you eat your dinner, whatever, and you walk out and you leave. Settlement is when that restaurant actually gets paid. So even though you slide that credit card, that's called a payment, but that doesn't mean the restaurant gets paid. You may call it a payment, but settlement is what happens. So let's try to understand that. So when you get a Crypto Hulk membership, you pay, but sometimes at least 2 to 3 days goes by and it hasn't cleared. The money has not gotten to my YouTube account. That's the difference. So if it takes 2 or 3 days, that's what the fuck you're gonna wait. Okay. Now you understand payment and settlement. Okay. All righty. Maldonado. Hulk, I know it's not part of the show. I messaged you on X and Instagram. I sent proof, but X not let me send. Try to send it Instagram. If it's not working on X, send it on Instagram. Now, sometimes I'll have to try to follow you, or maybe that's the reason I have to follow you. I don't know, but I'll get to that another time. You'll have to contact me on a different social platform then. Okay, questions. Looks like we got Cooled. Cooled85 is from Melbourne, Australia. We
Yeah, I've got
got
another guy from Geelong as well, which is very niche. I love Geelong, Shano. It's a great part of the world. I usually visit Geelong. Geelong's like another, yeah, place within Victoria, which is our state. It's about an hour and a bit away from Melbourne, which is the main city. But Geelong's a very nice, well, I'd say it's a city or a town as well. So you've got a lot of reach, Hulk. You've got a lot of Aussies that listen into the show, which is great to see.
I got people all over the world. I went to a distillery today, not to drink, but I went to a distillery because on this show we like investing and we like drinking whiskey. So in Reno, there is a distillery, and it's a business where you can invest. You can invest and make 12 to 16% interest and stuff. And I'm right now working with the owner of the distillery. They can mail different products that they have for sale. They can mail them within the continental United States, not overseas. I did some taste testing today. I did not put it on video, but I did interview one of the people that works there. And pretty soon I'm going to have the finance guy. We're going to do an interview with him, the owner of the distillery. And as part of Crypto Hall, you'll see me cold plunging or talking about protein that I take or electrolytes or whatever. And this is just another part. Look, the channel is what it is. It's mainly an investing channel, but there's more to my life than just cryptocurrency. Maybe not yours, but to mine there is. And so I'm showing for those that are interested. If you're not, I don't care. But if you're in, I already got somebody like, yeah, Crypto Hulk, me and my friends want to invest in the distillery. So I know there's some people out there that want to invest, and some people might just want to buy some of the whiskeys. So yours truly will sample the different drinks that they have, and I'll go over the process and we'll show you how they ferment all that. It's very cool to me. I like learning about how to make spirits and how you can craft your own. You could make it any flavors you want and add different. So we'll go over that over time. Hopefully the owner wants to work with us. We'll find out. I got to go talk to the owner and see if we can do live streams in there, and maybe have a meetup where we make a cask or keg of whiskey or rum or vodka. They got different things there. It's kind of neat. I think it's kind of fun. if you're interested in that like me, then cool. Um, so that's just something I'm working on in the sidebar here. Let me take a look. It
One
was
of the
like,
comments is saying tokenized liquor on the blockchain, which is funny.
well,
Um,
that was what one of my goals is: get somebody who's a tokenizer and talk to this distillery and say, hey, you could tokenize your whiskey. So that, I got to make it some kind of crypto related. All right. I got to turn my alcoholic problem into a actual money making venture. So let's look here. Somebody has a question.
speaking on,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking on tokenized assets, I'm not sure if you saw the SEC this week, but they're essentially, well, I think they're going to prepare an innovation exemption for tokenized US stocks. And so effectively, it'll be a way in which crypto businesses and protocols, I think Ondo is probably the largest player in the space that's doing stuff. The SEC is going to release like a new framework for those digital assets to actually exist within the SEC's framework. And so we could see a scenario where tokenized stocks are supported through the SEC, essentially digital versions of publicly traded stocks. And you spoke about settlement before in the context of consumer purchases when it comes to buying food at a restaurant. Well, I'm not sure if anyone's tried to buy stocks before. It's an incredibly expensive process and it's quite a delayed process as well. So that's a really interesting use case that hopefully the SEC will pass, and that will lead to further tokenization of a range of other assets as well. I know you've spoken about Canton before. Like that's obviously very relevant to that ecosystem as well. So that was some pretty interesting news that came out this week that could really create a whole new industry of money being flown into blockchain technology as opposed to, the archaic settlement systems that we use today.
Yeah, the news coming out is so amazing. We were talking about that a few days ago on my channel. It's truly amazing what's happening. Basically, the stock market is getting the green light. We're not rich tomorrow. It's a process. They can't. It's not a free for all. Everybody, where you just run and mad dash and you grab it and run. You have to have this in organized fashion. So they put it in a sandbox. They control how much people are buying. You can't go crazy and just put, a million, $5 million in it. They limit how much. They got to get this thing. It's like a train, and it goes chug good, chug good, chug good, chug good, and it starts speeding up little by little. So this is your chance to get the crypto on my program. We go over this now today. Jim, I want to know if you guys can, if you have a notepad and paper there, if you can write down some stuff. There, we went over it today. There's a company in the New York Stock Exchange. They're having, it's called Nuva, Nuva,
Hmm.
Nuva, and they have the ability to tokenize pretty much everything on the stock market. I think this one's going to be huge. It might be like a Canton. If you guys could look into it and see if they're, it's ran by this guy who had 22 years experience at JP Morgan. His co-partner is a securitized bigwig. And this whole Nova thing is built on the Providence blockchain. So Providence
Hmm.
blockchain, it's built on that, and then the token for that is hash, HASH. If you could, please have your people investigate that, and if you want to shoot me a call or a text saying no go or it needs 3 months or 6 months, we could visit it again or something. But that one, whoo-wee, when you look up that one, that's massive. Um,
Yeah, okay. So Providence, I can see Providence blockchain, which has got the ticker hash. That has a pretty large market cap. It looks like there's a lot of trading volume. I'll have a look now. It's actually not listed on many exchanges at all. So
right.
hash the underlying blockchain or asset, and then you're saying that Nuvo or Nuva is going to sit under that? Or because I don't see
Nuva
Nuva as a
Nuva
public.
is like a stable coin, and they're going to tokenize a whole mass of. I don't know exactly what they're going to tokenize, but they're going to tokenize these certain area of stocks. And that company, Nuva, with the stable coin, is going to be put on the Providence blockchain. And what coin will assist in that is the hash token. Now, it's through osmosis. You got to buy this thing. It's tricky to get. It's on I forgot what blockchain. It's very hard to get. So liquidity sucks. Like you gotta buy 5 or 50 bucks at a time or something. You can't just go in there and drop $1,000. There's very little liquidity. So I had to use a Kepler wallet and then buy in like about 500 tokens at a time. I could only buy. It wouldn't allow me to go with $1,000. I had to keep it way low, like $200 per purchase or some shit like that. So
Yeah, leave it with me. I'll have a look into Hash, and then Nuva as well. Nuva doesn't seem to be publicly listed at this stage, but I'm reading an article about that it'll be launching very soon,
yeah,
with nearly 19 billion in tokenized real world assets. And so, yeah, RWAs are a clear use case in crypto that I think could be a really large industry, and that they'll probably be key. I would say multiple winners in it, just because you'd be tokenizing different assets. But certainly, look, if the SEC passes this innovation exemption, I think that's a really big tick of approval from a large, obviously, regulatory body that will allow for other players then to flow in and have the confidence to actually start using more blockchain technology in their day-to-day operations. So, yeah, there's definitely a use case for the community to be across and aware of the developments happening within it.
I don't know. I'm sure you're seeing the same thing as me. What I'm seeing right now is it's looking like the United Kingdom is starting to get really, really crypto friendly. We already went over how the banks and the stock markets in the United Kingdom are all starting to come together in some kind of a crypto scheme. Like they're getting all of it set up. And I'm seeing the same thing in the United States. You just brought it to our attention, but we're seeing these kinds of things where it almost looks to me like we're moving forward on crypto. We don't necessarily have crypto laws right now, but what I'm seeing are green lights starting to get flipped on. Is that what you're seeing or no?
Yeah, I think there's starting to become a lot more acceptance with crypto. I mean, in the US especially, it wasn't that long ago that we had the previous administration that was anti-crypto, and we saw the SEC essentially suing a bunch of crypto businesses, and it wasn't even entirely clear whether they had jurisdiction to do so. We're now starting to see, with hopefully the passing of this Clarity Act, that a lot of these assets aren't going to be viewed as securities, so they actually won't fall under the SEC's remit. So, especially from a US perspective, without a doubt, I think we've got a lot of people now in really important positions within the US administration that are pro crypto and crypto investors themselves, even the new Fed chair and Kevin Walsh. I would say the UK, and I know that I've mentioned probably this on the show before, we're hopefully looking to open up against the UK pretty soon. They have very restrictive laws in terms of how to operate as a digital asset business. And now we understand the reasons for that. Ultimately, it's to protect the consumer, which we are very big fans of, and that's what we do with our clients every day. But it's ultimately very restrictive in terms of how we can operate and grow and expand. And so I think the UK specifically, it's getting there. I think more and more crypto businesses are coming back into the UK market. A lot of UK investors want access to great services like Caleb and Brown. I still think it's far more restrictive though than what we're seeing in the US market. And even, I would say Europe has still got a ways to go. Australia is not bad. We're probably in the middle of the two. So I think we're slowly moving towards that, with the US definitely leading the way. But I think in terms of, progression, we've still got a long ways to go in terms of how digital asset businesses can operate within these jurisdictions.
Somebody, I think it was Michael Gilbert on here. I think he lives somewhere around Maryland or something, but he walked into the store, Beal, I think it's called Beall, and you can use crypto to buy stuff in the store. I was like, what? But he showed me a picture of the building, and I think it was him. He's here right now on the show. I don't know if he's going to comment, but yeah, he went with his family or something to the store, and it's just they take crypto to buy stuff like food, clothing, or something like that, or couches and stuff. I was like, wow. So that's very interesting. We don't have crypto laws in the United States, so I guess store can take whatever they. I don't know how they tax that. I mean, it's just well, that's the problem, right? We don't have crypto laws, so how do you know if that crypto you're using is a currency, or how do you know if it's a commodity? It's just very interesting how they're able to sell stuff in a store. I mean, how do you pay sales tax? Because what if they're paying with XRP and that ends up being money one day? It's just, I don't know, Jim. There's a lot of confusion, I guess, for me at least. But
Yeah. And you see a lot of it overseas, actually, especially in a lot of developing countries. I know I've been in Thailand before and even Malaysia recently, and there's a lot of pop-up stores that accept crypto for payment. And so I think that, I mean, who knows how that actually gets taxed, as you said, or whether there's, we have goods and service tax in Australia. I don't really know how that all works, but it's an interesting sort of use case to see that a lot of these developing countries are starting to accept crypto. And in fact, a lot of them have crypto and Bitcoin as their legal tender, like El Salvador as an example, where their fiat currency is suffering from hyperinflation. Maybe they're debanked and they can't actually trust their banks because they're corrupt or the government's corrupt. And so crypto becomes a really strong alternative for a lot of people in developing countries. And it's funny when you go to these countries, you can see that you can pay for a lot of things in crypto. I've never actually gone through the experience of myself of trying that in terms of how that works. But I think given it's on the blockchain, it'd be pretty easy to be able to pay for something and for them to receive confirmation of that. So yeah, I mean, who knows if that'll actually end up happening within developed countries like Australia and the US. I think it'll become more commonplace as we continue to expand. But it is quite interesting to see that. And as you said, I think we need clear regulation first before businesses will properly start offering it.
here we got Chini Lee. Jim, here's a question. Jim, have you got any more clarity around the new CGT/trust laws and how they could affect crypto held in trusts in Australia?
Yeah, so within Australia, our government recently brought out its new budget, which is essentially the forecasting of how they're going to spend the money within Australia over the next period of time. But that's also a time in which they introduced new laws, and unfortunately, they introduced a pretty bad law, in my opinion, in terms of we used to be able to get a 50% discount on our gains on assets if we held them for longer than 12 months. And so that was inclusive of everything from property to crypto to shares. And they're looking at potentially scrapping that. Now, that'll come into law as of next year, but that will have an impact on your tax situation when it comes to if you sell out of crypto at a gain. So I don't know how that impacts specifically trusts as well. I have no doubt that it will still apply if you're holding your crypto in a trust, very similar to if I cashed out in my individual capacity. So unfortunately, I'm not a tax accountant or advisor, so you'd have to go to a professional to get proper advice. But based on my understanding and the research that I've done, unfortunately, that 50% gain isn't necessarily, it doesn't go away. So if you've held the assets before that July 1st, 2027, you'll still be able to get exposure to that 50% gain. It's just any assets you now buy after the fact, it'll be taxed at a different rate and you won't get that 50% discount. So again, something to look into with an actual advisor and accountant. We'll provide probably more information on it a little bit on our end, but again, we're not a tax firm or accountancy firm. And so that's where we'd recommend going to an actual professional that can give you the full impact on both your holdings if you were to make a sale, but also when it comes to your trust if you're holding your crypto in that as well.
Okay, I'm just going through the comments from the beginning.
Yeah, there was a question. There was a question at the beginning which I wanted to answer. I think it was D Curry. So he said, "Hi Jim, with the Old Glory Bank, which I have LLC, can I send money from my personal account to LLC account to wire to CMB?" And so what I think D Curry's asking is he's got a personal Old Glory bank account. He might also have an LLC account. You can, I mean, that's up to you in terms of how you fund those accounts. If you're talking about within Calvin Brown specifically, it needs to be when you wire money to CMB, the bank account that you wire from needs to be in the exact same name as the account that you're wiring your CMB funds to. So if you have a bank account that's only in your personal name, you shouldn't and won't be able to send money from your personal bank account to your LLC Caleb Brown account. It's important that the names match. And so you'll need to send from your LLC bank account to your Caleb Brown LLC account where the names match for us to be able to allocate those funds. And so just want to be really clear on that because sometimes people create the LLC account and then try and send money from their personal individual account. That won't work. It needs to match the exact same name as the account that you're using with us. And so I hope that answers that question, D Curry. Let me know if it is still confusing and please write a follow-up question because I want to make sure that if you're moving money into Caleb Brown, that it's going to get allocated correctly.
Stevie ZBCN says, "What is Caleb and Brown? When is Caleb Brown going to be available in New York?"
Yeah, New York's a tricky one. There's no ifs or buts about it. It's a really difficult market for us to get a license in. Essentially, it requires you to have a bit license, which can be up to a 3-year process. And so we're going through that process with the New York government as we speak. It's not something that I think will be done shortly, if I'm being honest. This is a very long process, and unfortunately, New York is super, super restrictive. Like I would say out of any area in the world, I would say the ability for a digital asset business to operate in New York is very difficult. And they have very stringent laws and requirements to get licenses there. So we'd love to operate in New York. I know I get questions about it all the time from New York residents. But unfortunately, look, we're going through the due diligence and process on our end, but it's not a quick one. It's also not cheap as well, which is probably to be expected. So I don't have a timeline on New York, unfortunately.
Just to show you, New York's all about protecting the investor and making crypto as hard as possible to get. But if you want to get some heroin or drugs, that's the easiest place to go to New York. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me to explain. But it's the damnedest thing in America. K Valiant has a question. If we have an LLC account with Caleb Brown and they do a clawback of a certain crypto, I guess that means the government. Will y'all just cash it out without talking to us first, or will it be protected?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, there's never going to be a scenario where the government's going to have a clawback of assets. It hasn't been done before in the cryptocurrency landscape. And especially from a US perspective, as we spoke about before, the US government's very pro crypto. And if they had any brains about them, they'd be looking to enhance this space, which they're doing. There wouldn't really be even a legality scenario where they'd be able to do clawbacks. And that's the same with the Australian government. But let's just say, even in that very unlikely scenario that the government forced a private business like Caleb Brown to claw back or send through assets, we legally wouldn't be allowed to do it as well or able to do it because we're not the beneficial owner of the crypto assets that we custody, the client is. And so, yes, we help clients custody crypto and a lot of clients hold their crypto with Caleb Brown, but we're not the beneficial owner of those assets. And so we may have to claw back assets that we own as a business in terms of the company's assets, but the client assets don't form part of the company assets. And so it's the exact same scenario if we went bankrupt tomorrow. The creditors that would be processing that bankruptcy wouldn't actually be able to access the assets that we custody for clients because they're not the company's assets, they're client assets. And so those two things are separated. So I hope that gives you peace of mind. We're never in a scenario where we're ever doing a trade. We're not ever selling out of stuff without client approval and without client direction. And so hopefully that gives you peace of mind that your assets at all times are protected. If you're still not unsure, though, that's where you don't need to custody with us. Obviously, you can withdraw whenever you need and withdraw to your own hardware wallet. So if you're still uncertain, you want that peace of mind, you're more than welcome to withdraw those assets. We're not incentivized to hold them. We just hold them because a lot of our clients need our custody solution and want to use our institutional grade custody solution.
Caleb Smith says, "Love the Caleb and Brown service. Thanks, Hulk." So, Jim, just very briefly explain what are the benefits of having okay, how are you different than like a Coinbase? And I know a lot of ways, but maybe give us like a 1-minute version or something. How are you guys different?
Yeah, there's a lot of differences and a lot of benefits. So I'll try and rapid fire through a few. So the first one is that you get your own dedicated broker. That broker is someone that is very experienced in the crypto space and is there to provide you support throughout your crypto journey. So they're there to help you with portfolio construction. They can help you with trades, execution of trades. They help set up trading strategies. They're essentially there for whenever you need them. And so that's really rare. I had a scenario recently where I had a customer support issue through one of the exchanges that I just had money on from a while ago. And it took me weeks and weeks to get someone to get back to me. And so that's the complete opposite with Calvin Brown. You have a dedicated broker and customer support team around your account. We provide institutional grade cold storage custody. So a lot of these exchanges, if you're holding assets on the platform, they're moving your assets around, they're commingling assets, they're exposing your assets to counterparty risk. We're the exact opposite. So when you hold with Calvin Brown, it just sits in cold storage, it's vaulted away, and it doesn't move. We aren't earning yield on it. It just sits there until you decide to either make a trade or withdraw the assets. And so that's a really big benefit as well. And then there's a whole range of other elements within the personalized service. So things like estate planning. If something happens to you, we make sure that the assets you're holding with us go to your rightful beneficiary. We'll work with the relevant legal authorities to make sure that your families are protected and your assets are protected. We even pull liquidity from a whole range of OTC desks and different partners. So you're going to get the best market price with us. Whereas most exchanges are market makers where they set their own liquidity pools, which means they set their own spreads as well, which means you're never going to get the best price possible in the market today. So there are a couple reasons why there's a benefit of going through a brokerage rather than an exchange. There's a whole range of other things that we could talk about as well. But there are a couple of the key ones.
Ron
They
Weber,
answer the phones, as Michael Gilbert says.
what's the status of yield on our holdings at Caleb and Brown?
Yeah, I've mentioned this a few times. We are looking into yields. We're looking into staking of certain assets. We're also looking into lending and borrowing. It's not a quick build, unfortunately, and it's something that there is risk associated with it. And so we're of the opinion that we're going to take our time with how to offer it. I know that's a frustrating answer, and I have spoken to a lot of Caleb and Brown clients, even in person, that the yield generation is a bit of like a be all and end all for them. And so if that's the case and you're looking to earn a yield elsewhere, as I mentioned, you can always look elsewhere. Like we will hope to offer it in the future, but if you're looking to earn a yield today, there are other platforms out there that offer some sort of yield generation. Now, the only thing I would say with that is that there's a lot of risk associated with it, whether it's smart contract risk, whether it's counterparty risk, whether it's impermanent loss. It's important to be aware of those risks, especially if you're a big believer in the underlying asset itself. So I spoke to a lot of people at this XRP conference in Vegas recently that think XRP is going to appreciate, it's going to go up 5 times, 10 times. Well, if you believe in that, then is it worth the extra 3 or 4% yield that you could earn on your XRP if you're putting the underlying risk at exposure, especially if you believe the asset itself is going to appreciate so much in value anyway? So for a lot of people, they got to, understand that there is a trade-off and that, it's not necessarily worth exposing the asset to the risk if you already think the underlying asset itself is going to appreciate a lot as well. So, yeah, something we're hoping to offer in the future, but we are doing our due diligence and, the build of these products do take time.
Let me take a look here. Yeah, I personally am not interested in like what XRP's at $1.40. I'm not trying to stake that shit. To me, that's really fucking stupid. All these cryptos are so busted down in price. Like, I just don't see the damn point
Mm.
in staking it
And with
myself.
XRP, it's not a natively staked asset. And so when people in the market are saying, oh, you can stake your XRP with us, they're not staking XRP on a blockchain because it's not possible. It's not how the blockchain works for the XRP ledger. When they're offering you a yield, that essentially means they're taking your XRP. They are then borrowing it out or lending it out into the market. They're going to earn a rate on that, and then they're going to give you a percentage of that rate, which, as you can imagine, has risk associated with it. If something happens to that person that is borrowing your XRP, which is over here, and they blow up, all of a sudden you lose your XRP and you lose your underlying asset. if it's something like the Flare network where it's done a bit more, more safer, and it's done in a different way through things like smart contracts and using the Flare network, well, all of a sudden you're earning in Flare tokens, not XRP. And you're also wrapping your XRP into a blockchain that, look, from my understanding, is foolproof and they're doing a lot of great things. But we've also, seen these protocols and companies blow up in the past. I'm not saying that's going to be Flare by all means, but you are still exposing yourself to risks. And so that's, something that investors need to be aware of. If a business is offering you a yield, it's not a free lunch. There's some sort of risk that you're taking on to earn that yield. Now, it might be a really minor, really tiny risk, but it's still a risk nonetheless. And so that's something that investors just need to weigh up.
Yeah, that never really. Okay, if I believe my crypto is really going to make me millions and millions, me personally, I'm not, even if there's a 1-2% chance, am I willing to risk 2% chance, make a little tiny bit of money, lose all my damn crypto? Like that's no, I'm fine. I don't want to get mixed up in that. What I would rather, now some people, hey, it's only 2% risk. Are you willing to lose like $50 million just because you're trying to make $500 a month or something? I mean, you must be hard up for cash. You might want to find something else to do in life to make some money, but I'm not trying to lose any. See, I'm not trying to get involved in crypto. It's already risky enough. And then to try to stake it somewhere and when they're not even really staking it, and then you're going to lose it, and you don't. That's just ridiculous. And then you got to deal with some insurance company. I'm not trying to do all that dumb shit. All right. So what I'm going to do as an adult in the room is I'm going to wait till my XRP is $50 to $100, and then we could probably start figuring out a way to do this risk free. I'm not trying to lose everything. I've been waiting 6 years for this. Knowing my luck, I'm going to be one of those 2% of people that lose all their shit. And that's not going to happen to me. So those of you that want to do dumb shit, go for it. But when the cheek clapping time comes, you'll be coming back like a little beggar to Crypto Hulk show. Just letting you know, I'm going to wait till there's 100% guaranteed, and Caleb Brown has some kind of system. Of course, they will. They're not going to be like, oh no. I think that if some very reasonable custody solution, whatever it is, look, the future, who knows what it has. And yeah, that's kind of the end of that whole thing of lending out my no, man, no, stop it, quit being stupid. All right, let's look here at some questions. 1970 legend. I just moved some XRP from Caleb Brown to Lantern. I'm borrowing against it. Can't wait till Caleb Brown offers that. I would never, ever, ever do in my life. So you guys do not, if you want to risk your stuff, do not do that. Okay. I'm not that hard up to where I need to start doing that shit. That's fucking stupid. All right.
Mm. Yeah,
Let's
all
look.
I would say, 1970 legend, I know he's a big, I actually met him at Vegas. All I would say is good luck, but don't put your whole holdings in there. I hope you haven't. I don't imagine you have. But if you are going to explore a lot of those alternative platforms, that's fine, but do a very small amount of your portfolio, at least at the beginning, is what I would recommend. And then list IOTA. We used to list IOTA, but it's yeah, the liquidity on it's quite poor. There's also a lot of difficulty in how we can custody it. So we don't, if we can't custody in cold storage and make sure our clients are protected, we most likely don't list. Yeah, cool. So good to hear that. Yeah, you haven't put your whole holdings into Lantern. That's good to hear. But yeah.
That's a train wreck waiting to happen, you guys. Just keep your crypto locked up safe. Do not do what he's doing at all. That's some of the worst advice I'd ever recommend is take your XRP out and stake it. Don't do that dumb shit. Please don't do that. Let's see here. Jim, on these other on these platforms we have out there, let's go over ways that they make money off you. So they may claim, yeah, we don't have a withdrawal fee or whatever. Show us in terms that a layman can understand, what are ways that I won't see necessarily an exchange make money off me? How do they do it?
Yeah, it's a great point. So I would say the first way that most exchanges, and you can look at, say, like Coinbase's annual earnings report. Obviously, they're branched out into a whole range of other products and services in terms of how they earn revenue, but most exchanges earn the majority of their revenue on spreads. And so most exchanges will charge a really small transaction fee, which is just this flat fee for when you essentially make a trade. Um, but what they actually earn most of their money is the spread. And so the spread is that difference between the price you can buy an asset for and the price you can sell it for, relative to what the market is pricing that asset for. So a key example I'll give is today, right now, XRP is $1.37 in the market. That's the best price that you can get if you look to buy or if you're looking to sell is $1.37. Now, an example of what spreads are is if you went on an exchange and you went to go buy some XRP, say you wanted to buy $1,000 of XRP, that would have a really small transaction fee, but the price that you could buy XRP at on one of these exchanges may not be $1.37. It may be $1.39 or $1.40. That is the spread that they've added on top of the market price. And so a lot of people don't realize that because they don't tell you that's just the price. But really, the price is $1.37. You're just only able to buy it at $1.39 because they're adding their spread on top of that. If you then buy that $1,000 of XRP in that exact moment, and then you realize, you know what, I regret that purchase straight away. I want to then go sell it. If you then go to sell that on that exact same exchange, 10 seconds after you make that purchase, instead of it being $1.39 or $1.40 or $1.37, which is the market price, it may be $1.35 or $1.34. And so that's the spread on the sell. And so again, it's not readily available or transparent. You're not going to notice it unless you're looking at the prices on other platforms. But that's the most common way in which exchanges make their money is on the spreads. Now, if that's today and the market's really quiet, that's one thing. Let's just say we're in a peak bull market and everyone's trying to buy XRP at the same time. Well, exchanges know that there's a demand for that. And so they'll actually widen the spread further. So if it was $1.37 and they were pricing it at $1.40 in a quiet market, they may even extend that even further out to $1.42 in a really high demand market. And that's what we call dynamic spreads, which is where the spread will change based on the demand. And so that's something that's really important that I know. Yeah, sorry.
So yeah, I noticed just what you're saying. We went like last year or something. We went to this exchange called well, I won't talk about the name. So we were using this exchange, and I wanted to buy this crypto. And let's say they said it was like, I mean, I know the price of the crypto is $1. So I go to this exchange, and it's like maybe $1.02, right? $1.02. And then I go to buy it, and it ends up being like $1.04. And then when I go to sell it, I try to find the highest bidder. Okay, my friend was doing this, not me, but he was on MEXC or something, right? Not me. And I'm hearing this from a friend of a friend. So that's hearsay. That's not admissible in court. So what happened is when he went to sell, the price could have been $1.05, but every time he went to sell, all of a sudden it would bump. He was trying to do one of these sales where you set your own price thing, but he could never get it to sell it at $1.05. It always kept trying to sell it $1. And we were like, what the hell is going on with this thing? So we'd see the price of it going down, down, down. So maybe we wanted to buy it, right? And then we go to buy it, but the price all of a sudden jumps up. And I'm like, what? So is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's another instance where the market can move quite quickly. And then, as you said, if there's less liquidity in the market for a particular asset on these exchanges, and they're a market maker, which, as I mentioned before, is where they own the liquidity pool and they're running the liquidity pool themselves. If all of a sudden that liquidity starts to dry up because so many people are buying the asset and they're not selling it consequentially, that can lead to further spreads and an increase in the spread. And I've had this happened to me, speaking fully transparently. Back in the day, I used to buy my assets off of a business called CoinSpot. And CoinSpot used to have insane spreads. And I was always so confused why, okay, this is convenient for me to buy on CoinSpot, but why is the price so different to what I'm seeing on Coinbase or anywhere else in the market? And that's what it is. It's the spread and it's any other additional costs that they may have on top of that. So things like foreign exchange. Um, One of the other key fees that a lot of people don't realize until they're at the point of withdrawing is withdrawal fees. And so, say you do really well in the crypto space and you sell out of your XRP back into US dollars and you want to withdraw those US dollars back to your bank account. You've done really well. You want to exit the crypto market. A lot of the time, these exchanges will charge pretty hefty withdrawal fees. They'll also have withdrawal limits. And so, if you're someone that's looking to withdraw a really large amount of money, you've done really well in crypto, all of a sudden it can take you weeks, maybe even months to get all of that money off the platform into a bank account. And trust me, once you're ready to exit and you want to exit out of the crypto space, you want to do it all in one go and you want all of those assets to be in your bank account as seamless as possible. So again, there's a whole range of other fees that they can charge on top, but it's just important to be aware of those fees. And that's where a brokerage like us, look, we charge a larger transaction fee, but we have no spreads, we have no slippage. So you'll know exactly what you're getting charged and we're as transparent as possible about how we earn revenue as a business. But it means that as the client, you're getting the best trade possible and you're not getting rinsed on things like spreads.
You know, when I first started with joining with you guys, working with you, you told, I was reading where you explained to me and stuff that you guys try to find the cheapest price. When I go to buy a crypto, since you're a brokerage, you find the cheapest seller. And then when I go to sell my crypto, you try to, if I have a lot, you trade slice it out, but you sell it at a low enough point to where it doesn't dump on me. Can you kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so that speaks towards our operations team and our experienced team of traders. And again, speaks to the personalized service you get with us. Most of these exchanges, when you're doing trades and even really large trades, it's just automated in their back end system. So they just have a bot in the back end that executes the trade, regardless of the slippage on it, regardless of how much they're moving the market. This is especially the case for altcoins. If you're buying and selling, say, Bitcoin, it's not going to matter as much. But if you have a large position in a really illiquid or quite an illiquid altcoin, you can actually move the market by selling all of your assets in one go and in one dump. And so our team, for a lot of our clients, especially in the past when altcoins were running and people had a really large position in certain assets, we'll work with our clients and ask them, hey, look, you're looking to sell out of this really illiquid altcoin. We can do this all in one go and get this done straight away, but you'll get a far worse end result in terms of how much money you make out of it. We can take a different approach where we'll trade slice your trade. And so we'll sell it in smaller batches and portions over a longer period of time, maybe 3 or 4 hours. So for some assets, it can be up to 24 hours. But what it will mean is you actually effectively get the better price at the end of the day and that you won't move the market as much. And so that's always up to the client in terms of how they want us to execute the trade. But it speaks towards the fact that, hey, we actually have a team of traders that are looking over these trades and are looking to get the best result for you as possible.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's one of the things that sold me too when I learned that. But let me check some questions here and see what we have. Root coin. Let's see, may get caught up in having. Yeah, you know what that root coin. Wait a second. There has been several times when Kalen Brown actually got a better price for me than I was quoted. Hey, explain that one, Jim. How is this 1970 legend? There was several times when Kalen Brown actually got a better price for me than I was quoted. Explain that one.
Yeah, so when you go to execute a trade with Calvin Brown, we'll give you an idea of how much you'll be earning or selling. If you're buying an asset, how much quantity of the asset you can expect. That's based on the initial quote that we have at that time. But when we quote you, we're trying to quote you as accurate as possible. And usually it's as accurate as possible. But then once you actually go to then execute the trade, we'll go out into the market. We'll leverage our whole range of different liquidity partners that we work with. And so, again, another key benefit of a brokerage versus an exchange, we're not beholden to one liquidity pool and one source of liquidity. We'll go out into market and get prices and quotes essentially from a whole range of different liquidity partners. and we'll get you the best price possible. So there are times where we'll quote you a certain price or a certain amount that you're expected to get. And then when we go out into the market, once you've executed that trade, we can actually get you a better price or a better result. We'll do that every day of the week. And so that's how we work. We're a liquidity aggregator. We're not a liquidity provider ourselves, which means we don't have a single point of failure. But it also means that we can pull a whole range of different sources and avenues to get you the best price possible.
Interesting. Timbo has something that I'm trying to figure out. Chucky's wish list on Ep, and I can't say Steen's list. He says, burn it all down, laugh. Jim, fun will be had. Cheers, Hulk. Take a whiskey sip. Sounds like somebody's already enjoying their evening already. Um, Now I did go to a distillery today. I bought 3 bottles of whiskey. Actually, 1 bottle of, oh my gosh, you guys. This is a maple pecan whiskey. This stuff is so good at this brewery. I'm telling you, the bottle was $50. Sorry, Jim. I know it's a little bit unprofessional, but this is an
Not
investor
at all.
channel.
That's all right.
It's an investor channel, and I was laughing with the assistant manager, but it's like you guys can invest in this whiskey and it pays out good, 12 to 16% a year. You can sample the stuff, make sure you like it. You can have it made any way you want. But I bought a golden rum. I took a little insy teensy sample. Today was just strictly business. I wasn't really enjoying myself how I should, but I took a little tiny bit of the maple pecan whiskey. Oh my God. And it was just amazing. It's going to be so much better when I put it on. I'm going to get some black ice, let it sit for about 5 minutes, sip on some, and see how it tastes. I usually like mine better that way. I don't like it neat. Then I had the golden rum, real small, little tiny bit. Tonight I'm going to probably put a little ice cube in there and sip it and see how it tastes. And they had this coffee, Hawaiian coffee drink. So this company is kind of cool. And if you want to like buy some of it for yourself, for gifts, for investing, whatever, I'll look into all of this and I'll have the finance guy tell us about what they offer and stuff. But it's just kind of fun, you know. And but I'll let you know how it is. I'll get to try it at home and I don't think I'll do a live taste test. That was the old Crypto Hulk. We can't do that anymore. I got sponsored. Well, now I'm an affiliate now, so we got to kind of tone it down. But I can go there as in their business and sample it live because I'm demoing their products, so it'll be kind of neat. It's a little bit of a different show. Some people aren't going to like it, and that's fine. Um, we got Mr. Maldonado says scent, stay hydrated for 50 joules. Yeah.
I see a question from Lloyd asking what the fees are for Caleb and Brown. So I'm happy to answer that question.
Yeah.
So Lloyd, if you're new to hearing about Caleb and Brown, essentially how we operate is we just charge a flat fee on a buy, sell, or swap. That's the only fee that you'll be charged with us. So there's no brokerage fees. You can speak to your broker and work with your broker whenever you please. We don't have any subscription fees. There's no custody fees as well. So if you custody with us, you don't have to pay for that, even though most institutional grade custody solutions make you pay. So there's no fees and there's no hidden costs, like I mentioned, on spread and slippage and things like that. The only fee that we have is a 3.5% default fee on a buy, sell, or swap. And that's the only fee that you'll ever be charged. So you'll know exactly what the fee is when you work with us. We'll get you the best price possible when it comes to the trades that you do. And also, that's where if you're a larger scale client of ours and maybe you've done a lot of large trades through us, that's where you can work with the broker and speak to the broker about a potential fee discount as well. The 3.5% is our default fee, but at the end of the day, if someone's trading really large amounts, that's where they can start to have those discussions with their broker. So that's our fee structure. That's how it works. It's plain, it's simple, and our clients love it because they know exactly what we're charging. It's not like, as we mentioned before, these exchanges where there's all these hidden costs. You never actually know what you're actually paying in fees at the end of the day.
Sometimes, okay, I'll admit, I might use a little bit of MetaMask now and then. It's my dirty little secret. But damn, I just get raped on that platform, man. It's like I stopped using it. Now I'm kind of messing a little bit with this other little one if I want to do some stuff that's not on. Like a lot of times, look, we talk about cryptos that are really tiny market caps that have no liquidity, and Caitlin Brown won't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. So some of that crap I can kind of find on MetaMask or whatever. But now it's the point where it's like, God, they charge you so much damn money on this MetaMask shit. Like one time I bought this coin and I can only get 50,000 of them. And I go to this other wallet app that I kind of use a little bit and I can get like 110,000. And I'm like, what the hell's going on with MetaMask? I know they're all hooked up with Joseph Lubin and all that consensus and stuff, but my God, I'm not using MetaMask that much anymore because it's just frustrating. Like they damn take near half of my money. So everybody else kind of understands, but that's like some of my trades, Jim, like they're so small, these coins that nobody carries them. So you have to go to these obscure kind of wallets to try to locate this, and you got to swap that for that, and then they charge you the impact fees. It just becomes a mess. But that's part of the fun, I guess, in having this show. Let me look at some comments. We'll take a couple more, and then we'll call it a wrap because yeah, I've worked quite a bit today, and I still got to work to try to get a show for tomorrow. So let me see if I can pull a AM show or not. Okay, let me just look through the comments here real quick, and if you have any last articles or anything you wanted to talk about, Jim, go ahead and let it rip. But I'm just gonna kind of take a second here to look through here.
No, all good. It's been a great show. We've talked about whiskey distilleries. We've talked about tokenization with the SEC, and we've answered a lot of questions. And so, only thing I would say is if you're relatively new to this community and new to hearing about Calvin Brown, like maybe Lloyd is, feel free to sign up and make an account. It's completely free to get started. My email will be in the chat. Make sure to use Hulk's link below, and we'll make sure your onboarding gets fast tracked and we'll get you assigned a broker really quickly. But yeah, other than that, thanks again for having me on. I always provide my email in this chat. So if anyone from this community specifically has questions, let me know. Always more than willing to help out.
Okay. I'm pretty much done. Let me look here real quick on this. 1 second. Yeah, I think I've got most of all my questions or comments out of the way. I'm going to thank Jim for showing up today. Everybody else, thanks for showing up. I'm out of here, and I'll see you all. Me and Jim will see you on the next one. Okay.